Last time we flew economy. Today we're moving to the front to see whose $10,000 first class ticket is actually worth the money. From Emirates' showers to Etihad's private apartments and Qatar's legendary onboard bar. I'm ranking the Middle East 3 across 5 categories to find the undisputed king of first class on the A380. 3 giants, but only one can win. Let's get on board. Let's start today with Etihad. There's nothing quite like boarding the A380 directly onto the upper deck. Seeing the sheer size of this beast always amazes me. The crew greet me and walk me to my seat, but before we step in, the seating layout is in a crazy 1-1 configuration with 10 first-class seats including the residents. Just one seat on each side, you pretty much get half the cabin width to yourself. And once we step inside, we can see just how much space we really get. There is so much room here for an airplane seat. You can see why Etihad call it the First Class Apartment. There's an entirely separate sofa on one side spanning the length of the apartment. We'll come back to this in a second. And the main leather armchair on the other side. This seat is so massive, you can see I'm only taking up like half the width of it. The seat and window controls are built into the side of the armrest. In terms of storage, you can place your bags under the sofa in front. There's a wardrobe by the door for hanging jackets, and this little pop-out compartment for small personal items. Just under that, you can find another storage compartment, and under that, a refrigerated drawer filled with water and soft drinks. And onto something quite different, a full-on vanity mirror setup with lights and the amenity kit inside. When you get tired of looking at yourself in the mirror, Etihad's e-box in-flight entertainment system plays on a 24-inch HD screen, which you can use with the remote control by your side. And you can charge your devices with the international power socket. How about the sleeping arrangement? Well, first, you want a bit of privacy, so make sure to close the apartment doors. Usually, first-class seats recline to a lie-flat bed, but on Etihad, remember that sofa I said we'd come back to? Well, when you're ready to sleep, the crew will transform it into a fully dedicated bed. And if you want to watch some TV in bed, well, worry not. The TV can be swiveled to face you, and there's an additional remote and lighting controls by the bedside. I'll be honest, the mattress is a bit on the firmer, harder side, but you cannot beat the amount of space. I mean, just look at this. I'm lying down looking at my full-size seat next to me. You can switch between them without the hassle of adjusting your seat. And just to prove how much space you've got, tell me what other first-class seat you can do a forward roll in. Etihad have set the bar pretty high here. This is way more than just a seat. So let's jump on board Emirates to see what their first class has to offer. We're boarding again on a separate jet bridge directly onto the upper deck. After a warm greeting from the crew, they walk me to my seat in the 14-seat first-class cabin in a 1-2-1 configuration. Don't get me wrong, this is a world-leading seat, but after the amount of space we had in the Etihad apartment, this almost seems small in comparison. We've gone from an apartment to a suite. Let's step inside and have a look around because this seat is still amazing. This is now the older design of the seat, which is a bit more bling and dated with the mahogany and gold everywhere. I think the newer design looks much more modern and classy. Directly in front is Emirates' ICE in-flight entertainment system, playing on a 32-inch HD screen, the largest of the 3 airlines. The standard IFE remote can be found under the armrest, but there's also a detachable tablet you can use as a standalone screen or to control what's playing on the main screen, as well as seat privacy controls, suite lighting controls, and seat adjustment controls. Common preset seat positions can also be controlled using the buttons built into the other armrest. For charging your own devices, an international power socket is available. Storage-wise, there's a huge space under your screen where you can place your cabin bags, and don't worry, it really doesn't affect your legroom whatsoever. For smaller personal items, there's a compartment on the inner side of the suite, and there's also this small space under the other armrest, which I still haven't figured out what it's for. There's a wardrobe at the front outside of the suite for hanging jackets too. In terms of extra features, Emirates has a vanity mirror with cosmetics inside, albeit a touch smaller than Etihad's. There's also a minibar which electronically retracts away, which is pretty cool, but unfortunately it is not refrigerated, so I ended up just asking the crew to bring me cold drinks. Although I do know plenty of people who prefer to drink room temperature water, so this might suit them better. And something unique to Emirates is this drawer with the Emirates writing kit inside. A diary and pen you can take home, or not a bad small gift idea to give to someone. For sleeping, the mattress topper and duvet are tucked behind the seat, which reclines to a fully flat bed, which the crew will make for you on request. Now, I didn't sleep on this flight as it was only a few hours, but having slept in Emirates First on the A380 before, I can tell you that the high quality bedding makes sleeping an incredibly comfortable experience. And don't forget, you can close the suite doors at the push of a button for extra privacy while you sleep. Whether you're in the old or new seat, Emirates First on the A380 is always such a cool experience. But now that we've seen what the two Emirati carriers have to offer, let's get over to Qatar to see what the Qatar First Class seat is like. Another day, another walk down the jet bridge, straight onto the upper deck. The crew greeted me and guided me to my seat for today in the much more intimate 1-2-1 layout cabin with only 8 seats. You'll notice compared to the other two airlines, Qatar has a much more open design with no doors and not as much privacy, to be honest. Despite that, I really like the color scheme and still think it looks good after all these years since the seat was introduced. Storage is not as extensive here. There is a wardrobe to hang jackets and place smaller bags, but since my bag wouldn't fit in here, the crew had to take it and store it in a separate locker at the front of the cabin. There are 2 other smaller compartments in both armrests, but the space in one is taken up by the headphones and the other one only has enough space to hold the provided water bottle. The only other space really is this fixed side table, which is more useful for placing smaller items or my glass of champagne, which you'll see very soon in the next section. Qatar's Oryx One IFE system runs on this 26-inch HD touchscreen, ranking it in the middle size-wise. I don't really know why they bothered making it touchscreen since it's definitely not reachable from the seat, but thankfully there is an IFE remote tucked in one of the armrests. The other armrest also has a touchscreen remote with controls for seat presets, individual seat adjustments, privacy, and lighting. Honestly, this screen was a bit laggy, so I prefer to stick with the physical preset controls built into the side of the seat. The one thing you will have to reach far for though is the international power socket under a panel right by the screen. Now when it comes to sleeping, the crew will recline your seat completely flat and make up your bed with the mattress topper and duvet. I've got to say, even with the lack of privacy compared to the other two airlines, I found Qatar's bed to be the most comfortable of the 3 airlines on the A380. We've just seen 3 very different approaches to a first class seat, but the question is, who's coming out ahead? Well, in my books, for the sheer amount of space and privacy you get, the oversized seat and the separate bed, it's got to go to Etihad. Now that we're settled into the seat, the hospitality starts before we even get in the sky with the pre-departure service. On Etihad, we're starting off with a glass of Duval Le Roi champagne, a few dates, an Arabic coffee, and a hot towel to freshen up. Etihad had by far the cheapest champagne of the 3 airlines. Not that I'd ever complain about getting a glass of champagne, and it tasted great, but where the other 2 airlines are serving bottles worth hundreds of dollars, you'll see that in a second, a $50 bottle doesn't quite stack up in comparison for first class. The a la carte menu was filled with options. As is expected in first class, it's dine on demand, so I can eat whatever I want in any order at any time during the flight. The crew came by my apartment to take my meal order before we started pushing back and making our way towards the runway. After takeoff, it's more champagne with some mixed nuts, roasted vegetables, and olives. But now for the main event. The crew beautifully set my table and served my first course, the caviar service. This was a Cetra caviar with blinis and the usual garnishes. Nothing says first class like a bit of caviar, so we're off to a great start here. Next up was the Arabic meze starter, a classic on all Middle Eastern carriers. Before the main course, the crew served a lemon sorbet palate cleanser, and then I had a medium rare beef tenderloin with the vegetables. It looked a bit dry on the outside, but once I poured the jus over it and cut into it, the meat was succulent and cooked just as I requested. To finish things up, I had a cheese course with crackers and port, and finally, for dessert, a chocolate fondant with ice cream and berries. The service from the crew, the plating of the courses, the tableware used, this is a meal I'd be happy to have in a restaurant on the ground, let alone in a plane. But we've still got 2 more competitors, so let's see how the service is going on my Emirates flight. The crew were quick to pour me a glass of champagne as soon as I got to my seat and then handed me the leather-bound menu. This is such a small detail, but it really elevates the entire dining experience feeling this heavy menu in your hands. It's another menu packed with options, The crew came to take my order, and one thing I've got to highlight is how knowledgeable they were about every item on the menu, and they were easily able to answer my questions, even down to where certain items were catered from. After I'd placed my order, the crew handed me a hot scented towel before takeoff, and then we made our way into the skies. We're starting off strong with a glass of vintage 2013 Dom Pérignon champagne, retailing at over $300 a bottle. This was served alongside some warmed mixed nuts, which I enjoyed until my table was set for the meal service. Starting, of course, with the signature caviar service. I mean, just look at how well the table is set. And second, look at that heaping pile of caviar. This must be at least a couple $100 worth of caviar right here. Emirates serves the caviar with all of the trimmings, so I stacked up my blinis with a bit of everything and really enjoyed this course. Caviar is often paired with a shot of ice-cold vodka, Belvedere in this case, so who would I be to go against tradition? Bottoms up! Next course was the Arabic meze, and I've got to admit, I think the presentation looks a lot better here on Emirates. I love having all of these small dishes to give you a little taste of everything, which by the way was delicious. For mains, I had the seared beef tenderloin covered in a shallot and tarragon sauce with steamed asparagus and a potato gratin on the side. Honestly though, despite the sauce, I found the steak a bit dry compared to Etihad. It still tasted good, but definitely slightly overcooked. And finally, I barely had any space left, so I skipped the cheese course and had a plate of the seasonal fresh fruit, which was surprisingly fresh and not hard, which is usually the case on flights. Overall, this was an excellent meal service. And one thing which is a bit harder to capture but made the experience even better for me was the top tier service from the crew. There's something just so polished and refined with the service from Emirates crew, and today was no exception. So big thumbs up. But there's one airline left, so let's jump back to my Qatar flight and get tucked in over there. Over here on Qatar, the pre-departure service consists of a glass of champagne, a small bowl of cheese and olives, but unlike the other two airlines giving a hot towel, Qatar only provide a plastic-wrapped cold-scented towel, although it is Diptyque branded. Qatar definitely wins for having the coolest bottle of champagne. This gold Armand de Brignac retails for over $300 a bottle. Cheers. The crew also handed out a quinoa date, which by the way is a great place to get date gift boxes if you're ever in Doha. Unfortunately, this was a late night flight, so the menu was a bit limited. I do think in first class, no matter the departure time, you should always offer a full menu though. In any case, when the crew came by to take my order, I just ordered as many things as I could off the menu to make up for it. And then it was time to buckle up, dim the cabin, and take off into the night sky. After takeoff, I'm continuing with the champagne and a small bowl of mixed nuts, cheese, and olives, while the food was being prepared. The crew came by to set my table and serve my first course. You guessed it, the caviar service. Qatar definitely serves it on the coolest looking plate, with smoked salmon to go alongside it too. I always love a good caviar service, and to be honest, all three airlines serve caviar in their own way, and I really enjoyed all of them. I followed this up with the soup of the day, which was tasty, although I completely forgot what the actual soup was made of. Now, time for the main course, and a bit of controversy. How do you feel about a pulled chicken burger in first class? I mean, it tasted perfectly fine, but something about it just didn't feel very first class. Or am I being too pretentious? Let me know in the comments. And to wrap it all up, I had the cheese course as I watched the sunrise over the horizon. That's 3 meal services on 3 carriers, but only one can win. I'm a bit torn between Emirates and Etihad for this one, but when I consider the champagne selection, the amount of caviar, and the meticulous attention to detail paid to the table setting and presentation, I've got to give the meal category win to Emirates. One of the reasons I love the A380 so much is the amount of space you get on board, and even better is when airlines utilize that space to create communal areas to socialize away from your seat. These onboard bars are shared between business and first class passengers on the upper deck of the A380. So let's see the different ways each of the Middle East 3 have configured their aircraft. Straight off the bat, I'm just gonna say it, Etihad has the least impressive space of the three. It's 6 seats surrounding a circular table, there's no dedicated bar per se, but you can ask the crew to make you a drink or grab you some snacks from the galley. The TV is usually playing live news or the route map, and in the few flights I've done on the Etihad A380, I've never seen this place properly used by passengers. Usually, people just take a look and head back to their seats. So after I finished this glass of champagne, that's exactly what I did too. Emirates, on the other hand, probably has the most iconic and well-known bar in the skies. This place is usually buzzing with activity. There's a dedicated bartender making cocktails or whatever drink you desire. Snacks on offer, seating, a big screen. This is the place to be. I've always had interesting conversations with people here, and who knows, maybe Flyman Yan will be mixing your drink next time you're on board. Qatar is a bit of an underdog here. Their bar is not as well known, but I much prefer the space personally. I love the design with the elegant chandeliers, fresh roses lining the underside of the bar. It's spacious with seating available on either side of the bar. There's trays with sweet and savory snacks available, and most importantly, the bar itself. There's a dedicated bartender making cocktails to your liking, and just like Emirates, I've always found this bar lively and a great space to socialize, at least on all the Qatar A380 flights I've been on. This one is a close call for me. As renowned as the Emirates bar is, the design and layout of the Qatar A380 bar is my favorite, and it's where I usually end up spending most of my time when I'm flying with them. Now, if only they could sell me a seat with a seat right in the bar, I'd take it. So for the bar category winner, the award goes to Qatar. After all of that eating and drinking, I think it's time to freshen up. Let's check out the toilets and do something that's only possible on 2 airlines in the entire world. Etihad has 2 different types of toilet at the front of the first class cabin. One is a standard toilet with a slightly fancier sink. The second one is what I'm interested in though. Once I stepped inside, I wasn't even paying attention to the toilet. This hanging towel can only mean one thing. Let's jump in the shower. You get 5 minutes of running water, which you can track with this color-coded gauge. I'm having a shower in an airplane at 40,000 feet right now, and it just feels so surreal. I can't stop smiling. Once you're done, the Etihad amenity kit is filled with Esper branded goodies and the usual socks, earplugs and eye mask. Over on Emirates, the toilets are absolutely massive in comparison. There's 2 of these on board for first class passengers, and actually, Emirates calls this the shower spa, and I can see why. From the heated floors to the Voya branded amenities, and of course, the shower itself. Also, with 5 minutes of running water, you can enjoy one of the most unique aviation experiences out there. And honestly, I don't think I could ever get tired of this. It's just so surreal. Emirates continues to wow with their Bulgari branded amenity kit filled with Bulgari branded lotions and sprays, including a fragrance worth over $100. I don't think there's a better first class amenity kit out there. Let me know in the comments if I'm missing one. And now on to Qatar. They also have 2 toilets at the front of the first class cabin, which are also absolutely massive. This is the great thing about the A380, there's so much space to play with, you end up with these ridiculously large onboard toilets. But unfortunately, Qatar has opted not to install a shower on their 380s. So as nice as the real law kids are, and what's probably the largest sink I've ever seen on an airplane, it's not going to reach the lofty heights of showering on Etihad and Emirates. The amenity kit is Deep branded with moisturizers and a small fragrance inside, and of course the usual earplugs, socks and eye mask. The rest of the amenities, like shaving and dental kits, can be found in the toilet drawers. You need at least a shower to get into this ranking. Unfortunately, I found Etihad's toilets a bit cramped, and it was a bit of a faff to get changed in there. So with the heated flooring and more space than you know what to do with, the toilet category winner without a doubt goes to Emirates. These were all incredible flights in their own ways, and I wouldn't hesitate to fly on any of them again. Now that we're coming into land, let's remember, this is only the first half of the journey for most passengers who'll be connecting through each airline's mega hub in the Gulf before their next flight. So let's get on the ground to see which has the best first class lounge in either Abu Dhabi, Dubai, or Doha. The Etihad First Class Lounge at Zayed International Airport in Abu Dhabi is the newest of the 3 lounges. It's tucked away in the back corner on the top floor of the business class lounge complex, which spans 3 whole floors by the way. This is by far the smallest of the 3 lounges, but in a way, I think that's actually a good thing. It makes the lounge feel a lot more intimate and exclusive, with much less passengers passing through as well. The parlor section is a casual seating area with self-serve pastries on offer with soft drinks and coffee on the other counter. Further down is the dining room with a full a la carte menu. So of course I started off with a glass of champagne before having my breakfast, eggs royale. Otherwise, while you wait for your flight, further into the lounge there's areas better suited for families and these semi-private booths for solo travelers and also couples. You can also book the private suites within the lounge, but these cost a couple $100 extra unless you're flying in the residence. Since the lounge is located within the business class lounge complex, you can always step outside to check out the Constellation Bar. And if you're lucky enough to be flying on an A380, boarding is usually done 1 floor down directly from within the lounge. I really enjoyed my time in this lounge, and I think its smaller size actually helps to make it feel more cozy and relaxing, because now we're going to check out the Emirates lounge, which is on the complete other end of the scale, being the largest first class lounge in the world. Emirates actually has 3 first-class lounges at DXB in each of the 3 concourses. I'm in Concourse A today, which is the largest of the 3 at over 100,000 square foot. To put it into perspective, it sits 1 level above and spans the entire length of the concourse below. It's so large, there's even a map to help you get around. Of course, there's plenty of spaces to sit down and relax, a dining room with either buffet options if you're in a rush or a full a la carte menu. I had poached eggs with smoked salmon again, with some fruit and pastries on the side. But the big question, how is the rest of the square footage being used? Well, there's a separate duty-free in the lounge just for luxury brands, a wine cellar with some very expensive bottles, a cigar lounge with cigars on sale, and you can even smoke inside this part of the lounge. A business center with computers to get some work done and private meeting rooms, rest areas to get some sleep in, more places to sit and eat. I mean really, there's seating in every possible corner of this place. Boarding directly from the lounge, a spa offering complimentary massage treatments, and even a complimentary shoe shine service. Dubai is known for having the biggest everything basically, and the Emirates First Class Lounge is no exception. There's so many different amenities available inside, but I find that it's just a little bit too big. You lose that sense of intimacy and exclusiveness you'd usually expect from a first-class lounge. It feels like you're in the main concourse area and you end up doing a lot of walking between different areas within the lounge, and those in-between areas don't really feel like a first-class lounge. Many people prefer the Concourse B lounge because it's a lot smaller and more manageable. Since we're on the topic of scale, Qatar's Al Safwa First Class Lounge does it big too, but in a completely different way. Immediately as you enter, you can sense the scale of this place. It's almost museum-like with the sandstone walls, high ceilings, and waterfall walls. And when I say museum, it might as well be, with huge Keith Haring artwork and ancient Qatari relics on display. The centerpiece of the lounge is this large water feature, giving off a faint but calming trickling sound. There's a casual deli area where staff can serve you lighter bites, or the full-on dining room with an a la carte menu. It goes without saying at this point that I'm starting with a glass of champagne, and then had Szechuan prawns, beef carpaccio, and grilled chicken breast with mashed potatoes and gravy, which all tasted excellent. Of course, there's seating all around in the central lounge area, semi-private pods for individuals, and in the terrace area, although I never see anyone out here. A separate first-class duty-free can be found within the lounge, selling anything from fragrances to watches. A business center with partitioned office spaces, a media room, a spa with chargeable treatments like massages, but one thing which is free is access to the private jacuzzi room. If you have a particularly long connection, sleeping rooms are available at no extra cost, but on a first-come, first-served basis. These are great if you can secure one. I think I'll finish up at the 360-degree cocktail bar where the staff can whip up any drink you want. But let's finish up this first-class adventure with one last glass of champagne. I I absolutely love the Al Safwa lounge. There's nothing really quite like it anywhere else. But the question is it the best lounge of the three? I was really struggling to make a decision for this one, but I think I'm gonna have to give a joint win for this category, and it might not be who you expect. The Emirates lounge is great, there's lots to do, but I just think it's too big and it's starting to feel a bit dated. Etihad, even though it's the smallest, I see that as one of its strengths. It actually feels like a lounge. It's cozy, you feel comfortable, it's also the newest. I really like the space, and it really gives you that exclusive first class feeling. Qatar's lounge definitely wows you. I mean, you've seen how impressive it is, and I love it for its grandeur, but it's definitely not as cozy as Etihad's. I think it depends what you're looking for, but for very different reasons, I'm giving a joint win to both Etihad and Qatar for this one. Looking at the scorecard, it's a dead heat. Each airline has 2 category wins. All 3 airlines offer world-leading first-class products, so how do we break the tie? In my book, it comes down to one thing: commitment. Etihad and Qatar treat the A380 as a boutique aircraft, with only 8 of them in their respective fleets. It's reserved for only a handful of high-yield routes like London, Paris, Sydney, and Bangkok. Emirates, on the other hand, has built an entire empire around it. With 116 A380s, you can experience the first class suite on over 50 routes across 6 continents. Whether you're flying from London to Singapore or Casablanca to Kuala Lumpur, the Emirates A380 is there. And because you can actually find and book this experience almost anywhere, Emirates gets the final crown for first class on the A380. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me, and let me know your experiences if you've ever flown first class on any of these A380s. Hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. My next video will be episode 1 of my brand new series, the Fly Manyan Aviation World Cup. I'll be traveling around the world, putting different flag carriers head to head. It's my most ambitious project yet. Don't miss it, hit subscribe, and as always, till next time.